Cool. Thank you.
Yes. Okay. Hello. I'm Jacob Ruttenberg. That is my email. If you'd like to get in touch, that's my Discord. I made a personal link tree this week, which I've never done before, but some of my classmates are doing that before Expo. So that can also take you to LinkedIn and stuff like that, but we will also kind of cover some of that in this talk. So for the most part, this will cover how I got a job, how you could get a job, how one might get a job in game audio, and then some craft stuff at the end. I didn't have enough time to include as much as I'd like, so those slides are a little bit more brief, but obviously there's Q&A at the end, and I think your questions will be a lot more interesting than anything I could tell you about in this slide. So let's start. Who the heck are you? I'm Jacob, as I said. I am graduating from IMGD this spring. I'm a MFA. I'm in my third year working on my thesis game, which is exciting. I'm currently, my exact title, I think, is sound designer, associate sound designer at Riot Games. I was formerly a summer intern there just last year. We'll talk about that process. Technically, I do voice design, but internally, I think I'm called the sound designer. Before that, I was a freelance contractor for Somatone Interactive, which we'll also talk about later, which is sort of like an outsourcing studio company. So like Emoji Pop Blitz and other really big generic mobile games, when they need sounds made, they hire someone like Somatone. So it was really great to work for them. And before that, I was basically just trying to work on anything I could get my hands on. We'll jump into all that. These are some of the things I've done recently, which is pretty cool. Immortals was just announced this week. I'd completely forgotten that I worked on it because it was like a year and a half ago. So that's neat. I haven't even watched the trailer yet. I should do that. So before we get into more about me, I just wanted to like briefly overview gaming professions and audio in games. This is a snippet of a larger page, but in here, according to these people, I forget even where this is from, but these are the roles in audio. There's composition, which are composers, people that make music. There are sound designers who generally make sounds. There's engineers and programmers, which I guess here is different. Maybe an audio engineer is someone that would be in the studio at the office. So if you want to go and have a Foley session, or you want to go and record VO in the office, they're the engineer there to help you. There's programmers who set up audio systems in games so that sounds and music can play. And then there's obviously the audio director, who is, essentially a manager for everybody, kind of creative lead. More specifically, though, it's not that reductive. There's a lot more to it. This is roughly where I am. I'm up here making a talk, which means that maybe I have something important to say, but I'm still very much at the start of my career, for the most part, even though I've kind of been doing audio for 10 plus years now. So how did I get here? I drove. My girlfriend didn't think this slide would go over well. 25 minutes. Yeah. More specifically, though, I just want to talk about, before your eyes start reading all that stuff, I just wanted to share these next two slides because I was really frustrated trying to get an audio job, and I'm so grateful that I have one now at Riot. But in my eyes, it took basically like 10 years to decide I want to do games specifically, and to decide that I want to do sound design or VO specifically. So back in 2007, I was in 7th grade. I fell in love with trance music and drum and bass, watching World of Warcraft PvP videos on YouTube. Before that, it was just whatever the hell was in top 10 on iTunes. Then in high school, when I graduated in 2012, in those years, I produced electronic music with Ableton. I would DJ at school events or graduation parties. Then I went to NYU for undergrad. I graduated in 2016 with a degree in music technology. And for the most part, I still wasn't doing anything games. High school, I was a DJ, and then I get to college and everyone's a fucking DJ now. So I'm like, okay, I want to be different, so I'm going to stop doing that. So I worked on student films, mostly doing post-production. Here's me on set for a student film, being the boom operator. It's a fun workout. Oh, Luke, can you let people in the waiting room?
You gotta make me co-host.
Oh, okay. Let's do that real quick. Pause, everybody. Uh,
We can make Shannon co-host once you join.
help me.
All right.
Every trackpad's a little bit different. Steven and Michael. Nice.
I know those people.
Yeah.
Luke, where are you?
For Shannon to join.
Okay. Sorry, we're gonna do some technical difficulties thing.
They must be joining. Yeah, TLDR, the HDMI was not happy with my laptop, so we're doing his laptop, but you are usually the Zoom aficionado.
Yeah.
Fun fact, oh, okay, well, it's gone now. Hold Your Color by Pendulum is one of my favorite albums, drum and bass record from 06 or 07, I think. Very cool.
Do you want to like wait until Shannon comes in, or do you want to like continue? Then we just
We'll just keep going. Let's
Alright.
just keep going. I don't want to.
Started to install updates right now.
Got it. Yep. No worries. I'll click the thing when I see the thing.
and make her co-host.
Yes. And then I graduated and I'm like, you know what? In my last semester of undergrad, I took a class on games and I'm like, wait a minute. I could just do this. I don't watch movies every day. I don't watch TV every day, but I play games every day. And I have these audio skills that I don't want to throw away. There's Shannon admitted. And I will go here.
So join.
Once you're in, I can blam, make host. Why not?
Yeah,
Do the
sure.
whole thing. Oh, and then I probably just lost screen. Yep. Okay. I should have just made you co-host.
Is there a making photos?
Yes. And I'm technically Edward right now.
Yeah.
My name is Jacob, contrary to what this says. Okay, cool. I graduated and then I realized, oh shit, I can be in games and I've not worked in any games and I graduated, or I'm about to graduate in 5 weeks or whatever it was. So I moved back to Chicago because New York's really expensive and I couldn't find work in games, which is what I wanted to do. And I was working part-time at my dad's real estate firm doing something to pay rent. I was looking for any freelance gig I could find, basically. I hope I'm still in Zoom. I worked on short films, people from undergrad that were still trying to pursue filmmaking. I found some indie games. I'll tell you where I found them. I worked on podcasts because everyone wants to make a podcast, even back then. Corporate videos for my dad's office. And then I couldn't find work, meaningful work in Chicago. So I was like, I'm going to move to LA and I might as well apply to USC while I do. And fortunately, I got in, obviously. So I'm here. Oopsies. So my first year, I did sound design. I was an audio lead. There's not a lot of audio people at USC, I found. So I had a lot of opportunities to do sound design, be an audio lead on MFA thesis games and AGPs. I also was working on one short film at the time. This was the AGP I was on 2 years ago, which is a totally different story. At the end of that first year, I applied to summer internships, including Riot, including Blizzard, and I got rejected from all of them. And fortunately, because I had a LinkedIn that was pretty set up and active, which we can also talk about later, I was reached out to by Somatone, who I ended up working for basically a year, my second year in this program, where I continued to work on more MFA games and AGPs like Spookalele. And then I applied to Riot, and fortunately, I got in, had a summer internship 9 months ago, had a return offer to work part-time right now, which I'm doing, and then a full-time offer when I graduate. So that's how I got to Riot, right? This is like a very long journey. This is like 15 years, really only 10 years of professionally trying to do audio. And then now I'm just going to talk about this last point, how I got Riot specifically, because I think this is pretty interesting. And is really applicable to just trying to get your first big job. Is this a question or is this an admit? I cannot see your shared screen. Steve said in a DM. Can other people see my shared screen? Oh. There she is. This is unfortunate. Well, stuck on the previous slide. Share.
Yeah, you would.
Share. Okay. Okay. So getting my application to Riot, I see this sort of point of the talk in two parts. There's the prep, which involves a reel, portfolio, and your website, your resume, and unfortunately, LinkedIn. And then there's actually doing it, the interviews and the application. There was a sound design test, there were the interviews, and the stuff in between. So for a reel, these are not really my opinion. These are like what is expected in your reel. 90 seconds or less, no fluff. We'll watch mine here at the end. It should be specific to your role. And this is a repeated thing I'm going to talk about in a lot of different slides. If you're applying for a sound design position, it is expected that your reel, your website, your LinkedIn, your resume, it all says sound design. And it's a plus for sure if you have a background in composing, or if you played an instrument growing up, or if you edit your friend's podcast, or you help your friend's band record. That all matters, and it should be somewhere in your resume, maybe in like a skills section. It can be on your LinkedIn. It can be in another section of your website. But if you're applying for a sound design role or a composition role or a voice over editor role, the messaging should be clear. Show your best work first. Show technical work if possible. There's, at least at Riot, everyone does technical things. We're all doing stuff in Wise. We're doing stuff in the proprietary engine to make League run, to make Teamfight Tactics run. So you don't have to, like, I didn't know the League proprietary tools before I got there, but I had some experience with the technical integration workflow, so they could teach me. I was coachable. And also with Reels, it's fine to dub stuff, right? Early in your career, maybe you don't have a lot of cool credits. The games you want to put in there, they're Unity prototypes you made in 5 weeks. And I know how ugly those can look because I've made them. But if you want, you could take, like a cinematic clip from Overwatch or a scene from the Witcher game and just put sounds over it. And as long as you label it a dub, they would know, because if you're entry-level position and you worked on the Witcher, I probably wouldn't be applying. But it's okay to do that. It's almost expected. And then also, every clip should have subtitles. This is an example from my reel, but it should include your role that on that particular project. If you used a game engine or a middleware, it's good to include that. And then also just include the game title, release year, platform. Also, what's not listed here is what in the clip you did. Sometimes you did everything and it's obvious, but for example, sometimes it's good to just list stuff out just to be more specific. Like in this particular clip, I worked on creatures and combat SFX. So I just made that abundantly clear. There was more I did too, but it wasn't like the point of the clip. So I'm like, it's too much fluff. It's too much text. They don't care. So this is my reel that I applied to at Riot. This does not include any of my Riot work. This is basically an example of this plus luck and being at the right place at the right time can get you a job at Riot or a similar AAA studio. Also, I hope this is not too loud. Also, sorry, am I sharing audio? I might not be. Share screen, new share. Fun fact, as an audio professional, you can share in...
Share sound.
Yeah, you can share in stereo. Share by default goes to mono. I only learned about this last week at work. So you can share in stereo, which is great. And we will click this, and then we will start again. Oh, spoilers. Wait. Too much. Oh, now there's no sound. What's going on?
Muting yourself, maybe.
Okay, I'm unmuted now, and we are going to, sorry, everybody on Zoom, we're going to watch this again, but we're going to do it without sharing sound for you folks so that the folks here in person can hear. Thank God. All a dub. Okay. Let's continue. Okay, so I'm gonna get this stuff out of this is just gonna live up here, I guess. I don't know what to do. And it's spinning. Okay. Anyways, Unmute. Share screen. Share. Okay, we are not yet at the LinkedIn or rejection phase. So you've made a reel. Awesome. Now where are you going to put it? You're going to put it on your website in addition to YouTube, wherever else it might be. Biggest points I can tell you is keep it clean, keep it simple. No one needs extra frills or this or that. Recruiters and sound designers and managers are going to look at this for a very short amount of time. Riot, for example, for new sound design roles, they get over 400 applicants. So make their life easy. That's the biggest thing you can do. The most important pieces of content should be the easiest ones to find. That should be your reel. And then after that, other works that you've made. And then the roles that you're applying for, again, should align with your messaging. So on my website, it says sound designer. And then I wanted to include some game design stuff on my website because that's what I'm doing here at USC partially. So there's a separate section for game design. And I also put it in my title. So hey, I don't want to be a game designer necessarily, but I'm in school for it. So that's why this stuff is here. But professionally, it's sound design first. And then I'll say this in other slides too, but if you have a SoundCloud with like really shitty music you made 10 years ago, like I do, but you don't want a sound design manager looking at that and evaluating you based on those things, just don't include it as an external link anywhere. It probably won't happen, but like the links you have on your website, someone could theoretically go to, and if something doesn't reflect your best self, just don't include it. And then just really briefly, I wanted to just show you my website, what this looks like. It's white. I have some, I'm just hyping myself up here, talking about certain skills I have, but my reel is at the front. It tells you what it is. It says sound design reel. You scroll to the bottom. Here's other works that are in my reel, but now you can watch 9 minutes and 50 seconds of it, or 7 minutes and 25 seconds of it. And then I have another section for game design because once upon a time I was applying to game design internships because I'm like, maybe audio is not for me, how far I've come. And then full credits as well, which is stuff that isn't in my reel. It's not in my resume. It's not on the front page of my sound design section, but it's just other stuff I've worked on that is audio related. We'll go back to this slide. Awesome. Your resume. Again, align with your role. I use a Google template for my resume. It makes everything easier in terms of formatting your text. I use what's called the Google XYZ format, which is you accomplished X as measured by Y by doing Z. You can Google Google XYZ and it'll explain more. And then also when you submit it, make sure it's a PDF format. I'm not going to talk much more about resumes because anybody in any industry could talk about them. This is mine. This is mine when I applied to Riot. This doesn't even include the Riot stuff either, but my contact information is up there. Again, role is sound designer. And we also include all of these other sorts of, job opportunities from the past, my education, and then skills. So if you were like, I didn't apply for a composing position, and I'm not, going to do anything in Google Suite necessarily, but like, it's an audio skill that I have, so I included it there. Yeah, and for what it's worth, I'm going to share these slides with one of you folks, and then you can share it with everybody else. The permissions are already set up, so if you find this, you can view it. LinkedIn, I hate LinkedIn. I think it's so much posturing. I don't think anyone truly likes LinkedIn unless you're, everyone's different. Again, make your messaging align. Include student games in your experience and project section. It's good to give and receive recommendations. If you're on a thesis game or an AGP, something really simple that you can do with everybody that I've done on my project and I did my first year with an AGP is one meeting, everyone just opens LinkedIn, you all add each other, you all go and endorse each other's skills, you leave little recommendations, and you just sort of gaslight the world into thinking that all of you guys are awesome, basically, which you are. Basically with LinkedIn, just show that you put in some effort to care about yourself professionally. This is what mine looks like. I have a picture, but it's just not loading, I guess. They got an about section, I've got Riot on here. I have my thesis game. I've got my old freelance work. Oh, I did not mean to click that. That's awkward. My prior contract work in AGP, USC related things, like I helped on a podcast, and then old stuff that I did in undergrad and whatnot. Other socials, they're not really necessary. Again, don't link to your Instagram or your Twitter on LinkedIn or on your website if you don't want people seeing that content. Twitter is really big in game dev, though. If you're unfamiliar, I would recommend getting on Twitter. It's really easy to talk with people. I got my biggest pre-USC gig from Twitter, just from DMing somebody. And if you do link to Twitter or anything else, show people that audio is like part of your lifestyle, or it is a hobby. It's not just a career path. Odds are, if you've come here, you care about audio in some capacity. If you wanted an easy way into game development, you would not be doing audio. You would do something else. So I assume people in here care in some capacity about audio, and showing recruiters and managers and other people that might look at you online that audio is something you're passionate about. That really goes a long way. So let's say you do all those things. You made the resume, the LinkedIn, this and that, and you get rejected. It happens. It happens to all of us. It happened to me for a long time. That's why I moved out here. I got rejected from Riot my very first time. I did not expect to get it the second time. So I have nothing particularly novel to tell you other than to be patient. It's hard, but if this is something you care about, it's absolutely worth it. Oh yeah, I even give some suggestions here. There are local audio meetups. There were some in Chicago, which was really small. So I'm sure there are many, many here in LA. There's obviously Game SoundCon. I found a lot of early portfolio building opportunities on this subreddit, which stands for I Need a Team. Basically, it's people that are like, I'm making a game and I need a sound designer. Odds are that game is never going to see the light of day, but you're going to end up with a decent Unity prototype that you can record footage and put on your website. Game jams, I've never even done one. I have such FOMO. I'd love to do a game jam one day. Twitter, of course, and then cold messaging people. This is a message I got on LinkedIn from someone who applied to the Riot internship. I got probably 10 of these at the start of the new year. And I responded to every single one of them, gave them feedback, talked with them. So, I can't promise that everyone will be as generous as I am, but people, they should be, frankly. Like, it's so hard, and I just want to pay it forward now to you folks, and hopefully other people in the industry think the same way. So don't be afraid to reach out. So you didn't get rejected, though. Okay, now you got to prepare for everything else. So first, there's a sound design test. I had 2 weeks to sound design 4 clips of 55 seconds total. I got video clips with no audio, and they're like, put audio on them. And they gave me a brief explanation for what the abilities do, but I went and looked on the League wiki and filled that out or checked that out. And generally speaking, and we'll talk about this later too, I see sound design now in hindsight, having worked at Riot, in 2 main capacities. There's thematic readability. So in this example, there's 2 different skins of the same champion that you have to work on. One is like an elementalist with thunder and lightning, and another one is kind of like this holy radiant energy. But it's the same ability, but it just looks different. And it's your responsibility to thematically differentiate them, right? Something that's lightning might sound violent and rumbly, but something that has this holy radiant energy, maybe you put a choir in there and some rounder, warmer sounds. And the gameplay readability is stuff that makes the player feel smart. So for example, if an enemy has a really dangerous ability, probably has kind of a big windup, and it probably has like a big tell. Like, if it's a dangerous ability, maybe the character, this is more VO, but they might scream beforehand, or there might be a high-pitched noise, something that tells the player, hey, something dangerous is happening. So this is my sound design test, which I don't think I had named Kablamo. I might have renamed the video file, but we'll watch this. Oh, and unfortunately, we might have to watch this twice again. We'll share it once for the people in here, though. Okay. Now we'll do this again for the Zoom peoples with sound. And for those folks in person, I will talk to you about the clips. Okay, that's great. We're still in the call though, so I don't care. Thank you. Okay, sorry, Zoomers. You probably are Zoomers too. I was muted. I was just saying, research your company. Odds are there are some core values of the company that you will legitimately align with, and you can talk about those in interviews. The STAR method, if you're not familiar, I think it's situation, task, action, result. So they might ask you, tell me about a time you worked with someone and you made an asset that you thought was great, but they didn't. You tell them about the situation. So I was making this UI sound for this game that sounded really heavy and deep and way too large on Discord, but when you heard it in the game, it sounded good. So I got feedback that it was too heavy, and I'm like, well, before you ask me to remake this asset, let me at least first integrate it. We can hear it in context. I did that, and she's like, oh, this is actually good. Awesome. So sort of having these stories from development is good to hold on to. And then I say research because it feels like stalking. But if you find out who your interviewers are, which the recruiter will often tell you, go and look them up. 2 out of the 3 people I interviewed with had at one point lived in Chicago. I'm from Chicago. So it was a really chill, easy icebreaker to start stuff off. Also, if you have a pet, do not use a virtual background because if your pet walks behind you, it's huge brownie points. I feel like my cat definitely helped me get a job. So if you're not interviewing and you're not doing the sound design test, be prompt with your email responses. I fully believe that there was someone just as qualified as I am who did just as well in the interviews as I did, but I just responded to emails first, and that's why I got it. And the recruiter even told me when I got the offer, we really appreciate your promptness, right? They have a lot of people to go through, and if you treat them with respect, their time with respect, they will return the favor. So that kind of concludes the how I got a job at Riot thing. how are we on time? It's 4:46. I'll just breeze through this and then I'd want to just do Q&A. Some craft stuff, right? We talked about this briefly. I think thematic is
Sorry, we got disconnected.
Music mixing tips. Yeah. I mean there's I'll pull up the slide again. I would definitely check out there's a series on YouTube called League Frequencies, which is basically like a deep dive into sound design in League of Legends, which is probably like 60 plus minutes of stuff. Oh, we're no longer on there either. But it's called League Frequencies. I think that's a really great place to start. It definitely doesn't cover everything, but that is the only thing that immediately comes to my mind right now. Yeah. Which is tough. I think maybe that was the thing I wanted the most too when I was like more or just less experienced is like finding places to do the research. Like I don't need you to like take me all the way there, or, like hold my hand and tell me how it's done, but just like show me where to find the things and I'll do it myself. I like fully acknowledge that it can be kind of difficult, and maybe you'll find like literature on how to use Pro Tools to make 1970s rock music and to mix for that. But like, how do you mix for dynamic game? Is Michael Sweet making you read a book in the sound design class last semester? There was a really, fuck, what was the name of that book? If you can share with me your contact information afterwards, I can send you some stuff. I'll look it up. Yeah.
Also, quick question, I've never actually quite heard this being said before, but do you have to account for like mixing with like other sound effects and also music that's playing? Like, because frequencies can obviously get muddled with like everything that's going on
Mhm.
on screen. Do you have like set frequencies for like sound effects, or set frequencies for like how the music will play?
Yeah, no, it's a good point. I think there might be some considerations made at the asset level when you're making things, but for the most part, a lot of that is done in Wise. At least in the case of League, there's like certain HDRs that are set up or side chaining that is done, or some assets might have some notch filters or low pass filters, high pass filters. Most of that is done in Wise, where you can more easily tweak things in real time as you're hearing it. Because for the most part, like trying to like put a notch in 250 hertz in your DAW when you don't know how it's going to sound in the game, you're just kind of like blindly shooting, I guess, for lack of a much better phrase than that. So I think that's most of it, how it's done. But there can be some concessions, at least on the VO side. Like if I'm cleaning up a female voice, for the most part, you can kind of roll off things below 200. And obviously, you know, generally you want to be aware of like boomy frequencies around 2000, and then 1000 we all naturally hear better because that's how humans speak around there, and we evolved that way. So you can kind of dip around 1000 if you want. And for VO, you'll de-es a lot, you know, because some people they just sound like that. So kind of case by case basis, but usually done in middleware, so you can just hear it in real time. Yeah. Cool. All right. Yeah, please don't hesitate to reach out. My door is always open, and I really do feel like it is my responsibility to pay it forward, because I went to meetings like this in undergrad. I cold called people on LinkedIn and met them for beer when I was living in Chicago, and I got to tour NetherRealm in Chicago where they make Mortal Kombat because a friend of a friend of a friend. So I reached out to just the right person. So there's definitely a path for all of us to make it in audio, and just take some time or a lot of luck, or both. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
Thank you for your GDC talk.
Yes, GDC Talk. That's right. Yes.
All right. Did you leave soon, or did you get kicked out again?
I do not know.
Is there anything we need to cut out of the video?
Nope.